I was ashamed because I was saying I was so young and I'm a child having a child. While growing up, I was privileged, and I lived with my father, and I got very rebellious in my teenage years. Sometimes when things are not working out or they make decisions that you don't agree with, you begin to throw tantrums. So one of my tantrums was rebellion, and in that rebellion, I got pregnant and dropped out of one of the prominent high schools in Maypen. Um, at first, it was.
How old were you?
I was 14 years old at the time. Very young, very inexperienced, not ready to be a mother, and just barely a teenager in third form at high school. Um, and it was very devastating because I had to hide many times to go to the clinic because I didn't want my other peers to see me or persons in the community. It wasn't as prominent now. Teenage pregnancy wasn't as prominent then. So it put a stigma, and it was very painful. It was very, let me say, I was ashamed because I was saying I was so young and I'm a child having a child. So basically, for the 9 months, I really hid myself in the home. There was an instant where when I just found out that I was pregnant, my cousin was with me and I told her to give me the ladder, let me climb up on the house top and jump off because my life was over because I didn't know what to do. My father was very, very disappointed. He was, because I grew up with him, and then I lived with my mother at the time. So I didn't really know my mother in that sense. We're having that bond with her because it was the whole transition of rebellion. My father was upset, so he handed me over to my mother. So I was to and fro, and I really didn't have that bond with my mother because I did not grow up with my mother. I went back to school after I had my daughter, and I finished up. I was in an abusive relationship, so I was expelled from high school on my final year because there were days when I went to school with a black eye. There were days when I couldn't go to school because of domestic situations. So I was expelled from high school, but I got the chance to sit my subjects, and teachers from the school, there was this very good accounts teacher who was good to me, who gathered notes and sent it to me, and so I did my exams, but I was not able to graduate from high school. After high school, I got pregnant with my son. And that again too, because you're wanting to push further, and having two children and still being a teenager, it did something. There were days I felt like running away. There were times that I had to give them away. I had to ask somebody to help to take care of them for me so that I was able to work, because nobody would be there to stay with them at home. So I had to ask relatives at times to keep them, and sometimes it was not under good circumstances or conditions. Sometimes they took sick, and sometimes it was really hard and stressing for me because while I was trying to work to help them, I still had to be, taking care of medical expenses because they got sick at times and stuff. But basically, I remember there was one occasion when there was some tablets on the dresser. And believe me, I was about to just, I heard something say, just end your life because you mess up your life, you're worthless because, you got the opportunity to make the best of who you were, but yet you chose a wrong path, and no, just end your life because it doesn't make any sense. And people will take care of them because, you're not doing a good job anyway. There were days that I had to go beyond the norm. I had to do things. It was no different than standing up on the corner, to make a quick money. There were decisions that I had to make that I'm not proud of, just to help them. But something happened to me in 2003, and I met Mrs. Richards. And trust me, it changed my life completely. In 2003, I gave my life to the Lord, and I started on a path. Now, giving your life to the Lord is not a complete turnaround instantly. There were days that it was a constant struggle. There were days that I really look back and say, boy, now that I've given my life to the Lord, how am I going to support my kids? Because, you could have somebody where you could have do something or help and give a hand. But there were days that I stepped back, and there were days that I felt like moving forward. But I think over the years, what has happened to me is that I've learned from persons around me, especially Mrs. Richards. I've learned from other women who have also gone through what I've been through, and I've seen them come out and excel. And it pushed me. God pushed me to be the best mother that I could be. And I started picking myself up. I started focusing on my children. I started releasing bitterness and anger and unforgiveness that had caused me to be at a place where I was not able to completely help them, because they were also scarred. And so I was not helping them because I was also scarred. And so by God's healing touch and His power, I was able to push past all of that and push them. And when they were in high school, even though the struggles were there were many days that they didn't have anything to eat, but the morning never come and something never come true. God always make a way. And as I said before, Mrs. Richards, she's not just only a pastor, she's not only a mentor, but she became my mother in that sense, whereas she ensured that with the little that she had, she ensured that I had some out of it. And it has pushed me. And my daughter, she finished UA. She did her first year here. I remember when she was going to Bahamas, because the program that she had selected, she was to go to the Bahamas to finish her studies. God opened the door. She went. She came back. She finished, and she graduated with first class honors at the University of the West Indies. My son is currently, he is on his final year at UTech. He's doing computer sciences. Well, what I would say to single mothers out there, don't give up. There is light at the end of the tunnel. It doesn't matter how it looks. And sometimes it's easier said than done, because being on my end, there were persons who encouraged me. And sometimes the words, it didn't feel like it was going anywhere. But there is this thing that I believe God instills inside of us, especially as Jamaican women or women around the world. It is this push, this thing that says, and I believe it is called hope. Don't give up. It will get better. And even though it don't look that way, or it don't look like it will happen, there's this thing inside of you pushing you to say, it's going to be better. It's not going to always look like this at all times.